Hello and welcome to today's Python tutorial. Today we are going to talk about tuples or tuples. Now, tuples are collections of data which are ordered, immutable, that is unchangeable, heterogeneous, and they can contain duplicates. What do I mean by all these? And why do we use tuples instead of lists, for example? So here we have a list. A list starts with brackets, square brackets, and they are heterogeneous again. They are also ordered, and they can contain duplicates, but they are not immutable. So we have a string here, integer, a float, and another list inside a list. And now a tuple or tuple starts with parentheses, ends with parentheses, and can contain again heterogeneous data, that is data from different types, strings, integers, floats, and other tuples again, or other lists. They are ordered, both of them, so they are based on index numbers, and it is fixed. So if I print the first index number for lists, I remember, index numbers in lists and tuples and others, they begin from 0. So 0 means the first item. So for lists, which is this, it is Vahid, well, my name. And again, if I use it for, if I use it for this tuple here, again, it should give me the same Vahid. It means they are ordered, so they are based on numbers. That is 0, 1, 2, and 3. And index number 3 should give me a list. And if I want the second item in this list, which is index 0, 1, I again can add another brackets here, index 1, which should give me number 2 now, here. So they are ordered. They are immutable. So tuples are immutable, unchangeable. Now let's take a look at lists first. So for lists, I can simply say list index 0, which is Vahid for now. I can change it to Jack. And now if I print list, I should get now Jack instead of Vahid. So I managed to delete that and add something else to it. I can also do something else with append. So I can also say list dot append and let's say Jack. So add Jack to the end of this list. Now if I run this, you can see Jack has been added. If I want to remove, for example, let's say number 2 here, I can simply use remove. So for removing, I can use remove, and then I want to remove number 2. So if I print, you would not see number 2 here. So Vahid 2.5, so number 2 has been removed. But this is not the case for tuples. So for tuples, if I do the same, like our tuple, this one, and if I want to say, for example, index 0, which is Vahid, I want to change it to Jack, just like I did with lists. And if I print our tuple now, I should work on my typing skills. Now if I print it, you can see an error. Well, this is the first error. Now I should see another error here, that tuple object does not support item assignment. So you cannot assign items. That is what I mean by immutable, unchangeable. You cannot change the items. You cannot also remove them. So I can say remove. So remember that we used this keyword, this method remove, to remove number 2 from the list. If I do the same here, and if I print, again, tuple object has no attribute remove. It doesn't recognize this anymore because this is for lists or for immutable, and tuples are not immutable, so I can't do that. So, but how? Imagine, what is it good for? So it is good because it makes your code write protected. That is, you cannot by mistake simply delete something in a tuple or add something to the tuple by mistake. So that is the good point of it. But maybe we would need something. How do we do it now? So for that, we need to change our tuple into a list first and then add things to it. Now let's see. So to that's tup1 equals. So to change a tuple into a list, you can simply use the list keyword and then the name of the tuple or tuple that you want to change. Now we have it as a list. So if I print tup1 or tup1, I should have a list. Now I can simply add things to it. I can say, for example, tup1.append. I want to append jack at the end of it, and if I print it, you should see here jack would appear here, and it does. And by the same method, we can also, for removing, we can also remove it. But now, after we have done this, we want to take it back to being a tuple. So for that, I need to say now top, which was our original tuple or tuple, now is going to, we're going to use a tuple keyword, just like list keyword, and change the tup1 back to a tuple. And if I print this, you should see it with jack included now. So I have the tuple with jack included. I can also use the same methods as I showed you for removing. Okay, now heterogeneous. So heterogeneous means that it has different data types. Homogeneous would be should be of the same type, but we have different ones here. So we have strings, integers, and contains duplicates. So if I have like two 2's here, and if I print this, you wouldn't see any errors. So this should, you see, so it doesn't have any problem with duplicates. Because there are some data structures in Python that they have issues with duplicates, like sets, for example, or even dictionaries. You cannot have the same key, a duplicate keys in a dictionary. Now create a tuple with a single item. So imagine I have two variables. T1 equals, let's say I want to put them in parentheses, jack, and T2 is also jack, but with a comma at the end. Now how are they different, and why do we need a comma anyways? So if I print T1, let's see what happens. If I print T1, what just happened? Oh yeah, this here. Yeah. Okay, let's try it again. So if I print T1, you can see jack. What if I print T2? So if I print T2, what do I get now? This is like a tuple. So jack with a comma. What is the difference then? Let's check for the type of T1 and T2. So let me copy this because I want to print type of T1 and here and type of T2. So let's print the type of T1 and T2 and see how they are different. For T1 you can see I have a string, and for T2 it's a tuple. So it means if you want to create a tuple with a single item in it, you must have a comma at the end of it, even if there is nothing after it. Otherwise, it would be treated as a string. Now, packing and unpacking of tuple or tuple items. This is also interesting. So let's say we have a tuple, but let's start with a variable t1, and t1 is equal to v, like Vahid, my name again, and 12, and I don't know, a list like 3, 4, 5. So what is this? How does Python treat this one? So this is basically packing. That is, I'm packing 3 items into a variable which at the end would become a tuple. So if I print t1 now, I should get a tuple. So by default, if you do something like this and separate them by commas, Python would treat them as items in a tuple. Now, this is called packing. And what about unpacking? What does that mean? So imagine I assign like 3 variables, let's say a, because I know the length of this is like 1, 2, 3 items. So a, b, c equal t1. Now if I print a, what do you think I get? I get Vahid. Let me get rid of this print here, and if I run this again, and I get Vahid. And if I print out C, I should get this our list, 3, 4, 5. This is called unpacking. So packing is when you pack all these items, these values, into a tuple, and unpacking is when you use variables which correspond to the number. What if I add another one like D and it doesn't exist, right? And I print this out, you can see not enough values to unpack. Accepted 4, but got 3. So it got 3 values here, 1, 2, 3 values. But it expected 4 values because we had A, B, C, D. It expected 4, but we actually got 3. So not enough values to unpack. So this is called unpacking. The length of a tuple, just like lists, so you can simply print the length of a tuple by len function. So len, and then the name of the tuple. So we have like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we added another 2 here. So we have 5 items. So you can use length function for that. Iterating a tuple. So I can also iterate over a tuple by a for loop. So I can say for I in top print I. If I print this, you should see them like this. And if I want them to be, I don't know, next to each other, separated by a dash, you can use end, and end is going to be by an underscore, let's say. So they should be next to each other like this, because by default end is a new line. So this is the default. It takes them to new line, but you can change this to whatever you want. I don't know. You can do also this, and yeah, this happens. Finding the index of an item in a tuple. Yeah, so for this one you can use index, the method index. So for that, let's say we want to use want to print the index of top.index and the index of 2, for example, number 2, which is this one. I want to know what is the index of number 2. So I use the name of our tuple and the index method here. If I print this, it gives me the index of number 2, which is index 1. That is 0, 1. 0, 1. Remember, if there are even more, doesn't matter. It gives you the index of the first item that it encounters. Now, checking if an item exists. If I want to check if there's a 2 or a 3 or 4 in this tuple, how do I do that? So I can simply use a in, that is if 2, print 2 in top. So it means if there is 2 in top, if it is true, it will print out true. If it is false, it will print out false. So 2 in top, is it true or false? Let's see, it gives me true, so it exists. If I want to print out 3, it would give me false because 3 is not in top, so that is false. Now modify nested items of a tuple. As you can see here, we have a list inside this tuple. Now so we talked about modifying different elements. So we said that we can't simply add or remove or edit these items just like that. We can do it. So let's let me paste it down here. Yeah. Now if I want to go through this and change, for example, number 2 to 20, how do I do that? First of all, let's get to it. So top square brackets, index 3 or 4, yeah, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's index 4, and we want to get to index 1, which is number 2. So here, index 1, so this is basically number 2. Can I just say 20 like that? Do you think it would change? This will, because let me show it to you first. It changes this because this is a list, and lists are mutable or changeable. You can see now it has changed. So 2 has been changed into 20. But I can do it for 2 or 2.5 here. If I want to do that, I just talked about this and I said why. So for example, number 2 is index 1. And if I print this, you see, does not support item assignment. So you cannot assign items to a tuple. But this is a list, so you are assigning items to this list. That is why you can do this. Now counting the occurrence of an item in a tuple. So you can see we have 2 2s here. And if I want to count how many 2s or how many 3s are there. So we need to simply print out top.count. So this is a method you can use also for lists. And let's say 2. How many 2s are there in top? So I should get 2 again because I have 1 and 2 2s here. Now copying a tuple. How can I copy a tuple? So we have this top. Let's say we want another tuple, so we equal it to another tuple. So top 1. Now we have a top 1, but oh, actually we don't have a top 1, so that is why we need to say top 1 equals top. Well, that makes a lot of difference, huh? So top 1, because we are creating this now, equals top, which is already been created. Now that they're equal, if I print top 1, I should get the same, you can see here, the same tuple. Now, if I want to change top 1 now, I should go through the same steps that we did with lists. So I can say, let's say top L for lists equals list top 1, and now it's a list, so I can add things to it like top L dot append, let's say appended, this word, we're going to append this one, and then now top 1 equals tuple top L. So now we are getting back the top 1, which we turned into a list. Now we are turning it back to a tuple, this time with whatever happened to top L. Now if I print top 1, I should get also appended at the end of it. And you can see I have appended as well here. So this is for copying it. you can simply assign a new one to the old one, and you can edit it or change it this way. Concatenating two tuples. So let's say we have two tuples, let's say top2, and top2 is going to be John and I don't know, let's say 2, 3, 5, and so we have two tuples. How do I concatenate these two? Simply by adding them together. Top plus top1, top2, and now I should have both of them here. You can see, this is the second tuple, this is the first one. So we can concatenate them using the plus. What else? We can also use a lot of these built-in functions. Of course, not as many that we can use with lists, but still, two of these are min and max. So if I have a homogeneous now this time, so homogeneous that is of the same type, so like all integers or all floats or I don't know, all strings, now I can use min and max to compare them. So if I say print max, the maximum, if it's a number, the maximum, the highest number of top2, which is this one, all numbers, if I print that, it should give me 55, and it does. And if I use min and print that, it should give me 2, and it does. Now if I have all the strings here, like Alex, Johnny, and Kate, now it gives me Alex because Alex starts with a, and if I use max here, it should give me Kate because K is further ahead in the alphabetical order. So this is basically it. So we covered all these. Now you know why you might need to use tuples instead of lists, because not just because they're ordered, lists are also ordered, and not also because of these, but because they are immutable and it makes them faster in search. So because it is always constant, the ID is constant, and you cannot also change them. That makes them more valuable in a sense if you don't want to constantly change the values in a list. So you use tuples instead. And then we also went over how to create a tuple with a single item. There should be a comma there. How to pack and unpack them. And all this stuff. Thank you for watching and listening.